Welcome to the Athletic FC podcast with me, Ayo Akinwolere. Marcus Rashford is set to sign for Barcelona, leaving his boyhood club, Manchester United. But is it a deal that suits everyone? All right, with us today, we have our Manchester United writer, Anka, as well as our football correspondent, David Ornstein as well. David, Marcus Rashford off to Barcelona, finalising his loan. Talk to us about this deal and how quickly it's materialised.
Well, this has been a long time coming because Marcus Rashford has been linked with Barcelona for many years. It actually came close. I don't even know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. People will have to check some reporting at the time. And it relates to Barcelona liking him and his style of play, his characteristics, and Marcus Rashford absolutely liking Barcelona and the idea of it. And I think it would have been his preference in the January window when it was clear that he was surplus to requirements at Manchester United and Ruben Amorim was not counting on him. Barcelona weren't there or in the same position that they are now during the winter market, and Aston Villa proved to be the destination. But interestingly, even with the Aston Villa transfer, intermediaries involved included Arturo Canales, who is very close to Barcelona. And I'm sure that would have been explored at that time, even though it ended up at Aston Villa. And he, of course, has links to Unai Emery as well. He has remained one of the intermediaries involved in the situation now. And therefore, it's clear that they were always going to come back to this Barcelona possibility based on those connections, but also a preference from Marcus Rashford that did not diminish. And over the last number of weeks, I've been hearing optimism from around the situation that a deal could be done. Now, I don't think it's any disgrace by any means on Marcus Rashford that maybe Barcelona were favouring, or some within Barcelona were favouring, say, Luis Diaz and Nico Williams, for example. But Rashford was always there as a candidate they liked, who can operate in the wide attacking positions, who can operate up front, that wanted to come to them, who had a conversation with Hansi Flick, the head coach, and Hansi Flick really liked him and gave his commitment to doing the deal. Of course, there are more people involved. You've got Laporta as president, you've got Deco as sporting director. But step by step, a lot of hard work went into presenting a package that would be suitable for Manchester United. And I think that maybe at one point, Manchester United would have been looking for a sale. But we reported in the Athletic deal sheet a few weeks ago that Rashford himself was open to other possibilities, be it a loan, be it a swap deal, or a permanent transfer. He also was prioritising a move abroad. So his commitment was now firm to getting this done in some way, shape or form. And Manchester United, they really need to get shifting unwanted players so that they can be in a stronger position in terms of the incoming work they want to do, not only in terms of the finance, but in terms of the squad space. It's an unwanted situation, furthermore, to have the likes of Marcus Rashford, Garnacho, Malacia, Sancho training at Carrington at set times. It's not a happy environment to be keeping. And so everybody working on this, and it would have included Rashford's main representative and brother, Dwayne Maynard. It would have included individuals at Barcelona's end, of course, and Manchester United. Fair play in this sense that they've all managed to reach a consensus that involved loan with an option to buy. It seems he'll be taking a bit of a salary reduction, but all of the salary is going to be paid by Barcelona, whatever that figure is. None of it by Manchester United. And then we'll see what happens at the end of it. You know, I think everybody wishes Marcus Rashford well. It's a box office move. Like, it's really exciting for football, and I think they've got to go through the final steps of medical, etc., and get it all boxed off. But it seems that Barcelona will be returning to the Nou Camp with Marcus Rashford in their team, and that's a bit of a mouth-watering prospect. And fair play to him in what's a World Cup year. Let's not forget that Marcus Rashford has big ambitions to get his club career back on track, maybe pick up where he left off at Aston Villa before that hamstring injury, and to earn a place in his national team. So and meanwhile, Manchester United can crack on with their plans, and maybe it's a win-win all round.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Carl, Mark Richard wrote a piece on The Athletic right now, actually stating that, this is the final chapter, or needs to be the final chapter at Manchester United for Marcus Rashford's career. Now, with you and your Manchester United hat on, how do you feel about this departure? Because yet again, this is a player that was hailed as one of England national team's best. He was hailed as the future of Manchester United. It's a prized asset that Manchester United are letting go of. Any sad feelings about it, or is this a great opportunity to have a fresh start?
Not just with my Manchester United hat on, but also in the interest of clarity and visibility. I'm someone who's written books with Marcus Rashford as well. I think the listeners should know that. There was some sadness when Marcus Rashford approached his January loan to Aston Villa. I was there for Rashford's final game in the United shirt to date, which was a Europa League game against Victoria Pilsen in the Czech Republic. And he did not have a good game. He looked very much off it. He didn't have a great first half, and he picked up a yellow card, and he was substituted shortly thereafter because he looked in danger of getting a second yellow card, and Ruben Amorim took him off to it looked like to save him from himself. Rashford has had excellent seasons in a Manchester United shirt. He's also had seasons where he's been inconsistent and or injured. Now, there are tactical reasons into why he's not had great seasons. We can talk about, say, the 23-24 season where he's playing further away from goal and wider, where he ideally wants to be playing as a left inside forward, as a second striker. We can talk into team situations in that Marcus Rashford, if you were an inside forward who likes to cut inside and shoot your stronger foot, that you tend to play better when you have a overlapping fullback who can help you break down the defense. When that overlapping fullback is someone like Luke Shaw, that means you can have seasons where you are phenomenal, because Luke Shaw, when he is there and fit and available, has been a phenomenal overlapping fullback. When Luke Shaw is injured, which has often been the case, Marcus Rashford has struggled. And I think that has also played a part into that. I also think the relationship between Marcus Rashford and Manchester United has changed dramatically. He's gone from being a sort of willowy attacking Marcus Rashford 39 who comes out of nowhere and scores in nearly every single debut apart from his FA Cup debut, his England debut as well, and he felt very much one of our own, to Marcus Rashford, who goes to wearing the 19 shirt, to goes to wearing the number 10 shirt, who then becomes possibly, is Marcus Rashford good enough to win Manchester United the Premier League title? The answer to that has now seems no. There's also the things he's done off the field, his charity work, his philanthropic cases as well. So Marcus Rashford is more than he's a football player that people who aren't into football talk about. My mum, who knows next to nothing about football, will look at England's Euro 2024 squad and went, "Where's Marcus Rashford?" He's of that sort of entity. However, when you talk about him as a football player, he's not been at his top level for a little bit. And I think that has caused a strain between him, Manchester United, the football club, Manchester United managers, more than one, it seems, and inevitably Manchester United, the fan base. So while there is a tinge of sadness that he's leaving, I think there is also an understanding that the best case scenario, or the best resolution to this, is Marcus Rashford to leave and hopefully reignite his football career elsewhere. I think if you are not a Marcus Rashford fan, you might be a little bit relieved that he has left Manchester United and his wage bill is off. If you are a Manchester United fan, you might be inclined to thinking, "Oh, thank goodness Marcus Rashford isn't at Manchester United anymore." So this is a deal that probably works for all parties.
Yeah, for sure. David, let's flip it around. Marcus Rashford is on his way out, but who's on their way in to Manchester United? Any incomings? Because I've seen news of Bryan Mbeumo finally getting it over the line at Manchester United.
Well, that was the big target for Manchester United after the Cunha deal, and with Liam Delap choosing to sign for Chelsea. I'll just wind it back a little bit. United came into this window with the finances available to do two deals without needing to sell. Their preferences were Matheus Cunha, £62.5 million release clause, Liam Delap, £30 million release clause. I've got to say that Bryan Mbeumo was always at the top of their list for a wide attacker. In and amongst that was Antoine Semenyo too. they held him in the highest of regards. But Mbeumo was above that. There was even a time where they might have gone for all three, Cunha, Mbeumo and Semenyo, in the absence of finding the number 9 that they wanted after the Delap situation and with everything we've seen going on with Victor Gyökeres and other names, and we'll come on to the number 9 in a bit. But as it materialised, Manchester United have managed to close out deals for 2 top targets in Cunha and Mbeumo before they leave for their pre-season tours. So a bit of credit where it's due. They've also scored a hell of a lot of goals. Yep, they come at reasonable prices, but perhaps they'll be seen in time as decent value for money when you look at some of the prices being committed elsewhere. After that, United are clearly going to focus on other areas. In no particular order, the goalkeeping department needs to be addressed in the view of United. That doesn't necessarily mean Andre Onana's going to leave. He's got an injury at the moment. There may not be suitors for him. There may be. Let's see how that develops. We've seen a lot of speculation around Emi Martinez, and we don't know of movement on that, and there will be more goalkeepers in the frame as well. And number 6, I think, is on the agenda as well. So defensive midfielder, no doubt we'll see loads of names mentioned, and we're going to have to respect the process in that because we don't have any sort of information on developments yet. And then, of course, the number 9, they want to sign a striker. Now, we don't know of them actively sort of moving on Sesko, Watkins, reports on both in the last sort of 24 hours before recording this. No doubt that they are on the list of Manchester United, like they are on the list of pretty much every top club. And Laurie Whitwell, our colleague, was first to report about Watkins, and there have since been dispatches on Sesko because that possibility of Arsenal didn't materialise, or any other club as things stand. And of course, things can change as the market goes on. Prices shift, they go up, things become less possible. They come down, things become more possible. And they will have other options as well. I can't say the direction of travel on that just yet. There is a lot more work that needs to be done. They want to get rid of a load of players, and that will raise some more funds on top of the Rashford salary saving, Carreras, the sell-on income, the Anthony Elanga sell-on income. And I know there is a lot of anxiety among all club fan bases right now about why are we taking so long to get our business done. Guys, we're in July. We're not even at the end of July yet, by any means. Like, we've got the rest of July, we've got the whole of August. Yeah, I know everybody wants to get their squad settled before the season in an ideal world. But Manchester United are by no means alone in not having that so far. And they are ahead of quite a few clubs in what they've done. This is not a fine science. Nor is it easy. And so it's a decent start. Loads more to do, and no doubt that will define or influence the success of Ruben Amorim and his team in the short term. And one final point to make on that is that they might not be able to do all of their business or desired activity in this window. Some might have to come in January, some might come the next summer. It may go in different directions, but they are clearly working very hard at this. And I'm really impressed by the 2 signings so far. I'm really impressed that they've managed to make the most of a very difficult situation on Rashford. But the sort of true judgment is in the weeks ahead.
Yeah. Carl, obviously Marcus Rashford off Manchester United's wage bill would be interesting in terms of what kind of business Manchester United are able to do moving forward. But I wonder if you have a word for the fans, as David said, who are slightly anxious that the Manchester United team that are going to come into the new season, how can I put this politely, might not be as competitive as they might want them to be.
Of course. That it makes total sense. This is a Manchester United squad that finished 15th in the league last season. They lost the Europa League final to Tottenham Hotspur. They will be without European football for the first time in just over a decade. And while United are ahead of a number of clubs, they also finished the season behind a number of other clubs. And I think that is the frustration, that is the fear, that is the difficulty. Is also it's difficult for Manchester United because they do not have the transfer war chest that is very often, that word war chest is very often put across newspapers when a new manager comes in. Oh, we're going to give him a war chest of 200 million to spend. Amorim doesn't have that, in part because the previous war chests have been spent. Your mileage may vary on how those war chests have been spent.
I'm saying nothing.
I think it's very interesting if we talk about the current Manchester United 5, which are now 4. Now Marcus Rashford seems to be departing. 2 of them are three of them were players signed for fees under the previous manager. One of them is an academy graduate. There was a 2-year-long process in getting Jadon Sancho over to Manchester United, and now he seems to be on the move for a price that is a lot lower than the 120 million that Borussia Dortmund initially quoted Manchester United in the summer of 2020. Antony is still remains one of the most expensive Premier League signings of all time, and he now appears to be he is unwanted by Manchester United as well. So United don't necessarily have the big money to spend to get all of these players in. I think I've seen 2 or 3 United fans online say United should have made 4 signings before the US tour has begun, to which I sort of hear my dad's old voice going, with what money? Absolutely. I think David is very, very good in reminding everyone about the picture going into this summer, and that United really wanted to get Liam Delap. Not only because he is a good Premier League proven or Premier League tested striker, but because that release clause of 30 million would have solved a bunch of headaches. We know Manchester United were among a number of clubs who had a meeting with Delap face to face, but he opted to move to Chelsea, and I think that threw a complication into a situation. Onana's injury and Onana's erratic form has caused complications here as well. So the difficulty here is United are in need of a rebuild. The problem is United have been in need of a rebuild for several seasons, and one of the issues for United that perhaps doesn't affect other top 6 clubs is that they are in need of a rebuild, and they're in need of trying to strengthen positions that in theory should have been strengthened 2 or 3 years ago with players that were bought for excess of 50 million. So if Arsenal go out and buy a player north of 80 million, that player who's north of 80 million tends to still be in that team 2 seasons later. When Manchester United do that, that doesn't appear to be the case.
That's a really good way of putting it, actually. And, on the subject of unwanted players, David, by that I mean maybe Jadon Sancho, Antony, and also Garnacho. Any news on what those outgoings might look like? Because we talk about, Marcus Rashford's wage bill off their books might affect future business. I mean, these off their books will definitely mean there might be some future business, hopefully before the transfer window closes.
Yeah, hopefully from United's perspective and the players too, but it's easier said than done. Jadon Sancho has been heavily rumoured to be closing in on a move to Juventus. That is not accurate, as I understand it, at all. And I'm not quite sure where that's emanating from. There's an element of interest from Napoli, for sure. Let's see how they weigh things up. They've brought in Noah Lang, and so is that a viable possibility? And I'm sure there will be more clubs interested in Jadon Sancho as the window develops. He didn't have a bad season with Chelsea, and we know the talent that he possesses. But he's on a very handsome salary at Manchester United, and so that's a complicating factor, not only for them, but for clubs who are looking to take him. But really at his technical and age profile, I would expect possibilities to arise as the market moves on. Antony is a different case. He had an extremely strong loan with Real Betis, and no doubt there will be further interest maybe from them, from elsewhere. In Spain in particular seems to be a happy hunting ground. But unfortunately for United, patience is required to try and establish what sort of fee could be agreed on transfer and salary coverage. Is it a loan? Are there options? Malacia is probably less onerous for Manchester United from a financial perspective in terms of the salary, but they do want to move him on. And there may be other opportunities that arise as the window develops in other positions as well. Like the Onana situation seems to be sort of unresolved. And therefore, Another one is Rasmus Højlund. Very good chance that he moves on, and it could all be intertwined with, Manchester United's progress on maybe a new striker that would educate them on what they'd be willing to part with Højlund for, because I think there is a fair amount of interest in Højlund, even though I assume his desire would have been to stay and get things right at Manchester United, but it doesn't always materialise how you want it. So I don't think there's reason for doom and gloom on that front, but I think there is a need to allow time and these situations to develop.
Okay, David, I know you've got to head off. Busy time for you, but I appreciate you jumping on as well. Thank you.
Pleasure, guys, as ever.
All right, joining us now is our Barcelona writer, Pol Ballus. Pol, this is the big one. Marcus Rashford coming to Barcelona on a season-long loan. Big paycheck for wages. And as we know in Barcelona, money is always an obstacle. How are they affording this?
Well, I mean, of course, this is a good question and a question that we are all asking in a way here. But from all the names that we've been hearing around this summer, I'm going to tell you what, Marcus Rashford is going to be the easiest one to register. And you might wonder why.
Break it down.
Yeah. And just the reason because of that is because it is a loan deal. It's not a signing, and a permanent signing with a multi-year deal and everything, which is what would have involved Nico Williams or Luis Diaz potentially if they had the money to do that, which is not the case, of course. But if you do these sort of deals, you have to take into account the amortization of the player. You're going to have to take into account the 5 years of salary that he's going to have into a deal. You don't have to advance for all this money beforehand, but La Liga takes that into account when they have calculations of your salary limit. So Rashford is not going to get into those figures. So that's good in that regard. And on top of that, as we all know, he's taking a pay cut, which is going to be handy for Barcelona. And which, in a way, from my point of view, and I think I've been saying that in podcast and in everything that we've done over the past weeks, I think that from all the options that Barca had for that department, Rashford was the sensible one. As much as there are money concerns and everything, Rashford was the sensible one. And yeah, I'm sure that we can discuss more about that. But I think that, in a way, Barca did the best that they could from the money that they had available, of course.
Paul, you just saying it's only a loan deal, so it's not as big on amortization and other regards. That it sounds promising. It also sounds like, to put my accountant hat on, this sounds very much more like a rental rather than, because it's an option to buy rather than an obligation to buy. And looking at Barcelona's recent history with loans, they loaned João Felix, then gave him back. They loaned Adama Traore, then gave him back. They've loaned Memphis Depay, and they gave him back.
Cancelo,
they've loaned and given him back. Obviously, a ball hasn't been kicked yet, but if everyone's now talking about Marcus Rashford does really well and he can be a Barcelona player going forward, is from what you've said there, it sounds like Marcus Rashford could have a very good season at Barcelona, but that doesn't necessarily mean Barcelona are inclined to make that deal permanent because of these long-standing financial problems.
Absolutely. And if I'm honest with you, that was Barcelona's plan from day one. Barcelona never entertained the prospect of signing him on a permanent deal, basically because it was impossible for Barcelona to do it, or really difficult for Barcelona to do it. Barca knew that Rashford was crazy for the move, was really keen on the move, and that's something that has given them a strong hand in talks, in negotiations, in everything. And that's why, as soon as they realized that, okay, we have to go for Rashford because Nico Williams is gone and Luis Diaz is not feasible, that was the first offer, basically, that they put on the table, because that's what they were able to do. They know that it's a good scenario for Barcelona in terms of, one, as we were saying, Rashford really keen on the move. Two, Rashford, in a way, it feels like his last rescue boat, or like the last big chance that he has at this stage. So he has a point to prove in that regard. And two, there's the World Cup ahead of him. So there's a lot of elements in there for Barcelona to be optimistic in Rashford, trying to be willing to prove a point, trying to be to join the club with this humbling perspective of, right, I'm not the main man here, but I'm going to try to make the best out of it. And if Rashford joins the club with that mindset, with the raw conditions that he has, I think that it's a really good move for Barcelona. Then of course, there's a lot of caveats, and you never know in football how this is going to pan out. But I think that the upside of that deal for Barcelona is big, and the downside is, well, the money that they will have to pay him this season. But assuming that he's going to take a pay cut and that all the other options that Flick had approved were more expensive than that, it's not too bad for Barca.
Yeah, Carl, this is interesting because with that in mind, if for the minimum this is a year-long loan, what does this represent then really for Marcus Rashford? A chance for redemption? Because if it's a chance for redemption for the football world, I mean, this is a massive gamble. This is Barcelona. You need to shine. There's a whole heap of talent on that team. And could this be, look, with the World Cup in hand, but this is massive for a lad like himself to back himself in such a way.
This is a one-season sprint. It's a one-season sprint to show world football, to show clubs with aspirations of winning the Champions League that he can be a top-level performer. Yes, we're talking right now about Marcus Rashford taking a degree of a pay cut to get this loan deal through. I don't think that's a pay cut that makes him, let's use the word affordable for Brentford, for example.
Yeah.
I think this is a pay cut that still puts him in the realm of some of the highest paid players in Europe. So Marcus Rashford will be 20. He's 27 now. He'll be 28, 29 post-World Cup. If we are now talking in the idea, well, one, you want to have a good season because you want to get into the World Cup squad for England, Thomas Tuchel. Two, you want to have a good season at Barcelona to can talk to Flick, Deco and others that, hey, you want to keep me and we can continue to have this conversation and try and find a way to get this deal done in a way that you possibly didn't find a way to make the deal done for Nico Williams. And then three, in the event that Barcelona go, hey, that was a fun year, the accountants say no and shake your hand and go away, that there's still a scenario where a team like, say, Bayern Munich or Inter Milan or, I mean, you can't go to Real Madrid now because you spent a year playing for Barcelona, but you understand the idea that other clubs can do it. I also think the quality of the squad at Barcelona and the way Hansi Flick has had them playing incredibly entertaining football since he's arrived means that I've spoken before about the tactical problems or other issues that affected Manchester United, so that made Marcus Rashford's game inconsistent. They're largely not there anymore. I think it's probably there's been more than one player who's left Manchester United and then kicked on and had a great season, to which people are going, oh wait, maybe Manchester United were the issue. I mean, most notably is last season where Scott McTominay's gone from being a okay defensive midfielder to looking like a complete conqueror at Napoli and winning a Serie A title. And look, Scott McTominay was so good at Napoli last season, I had to eat humble pie and eat crow. I didn't think he'd be that good. And again, Scott McTominay, I'm so sorry. You're so much better a football player than I thought you were. I think that's one of Marcus Rashford's objectives too, of Marcus Rashford going, actually, the things people were saying about me being inconsistent or things people were saying about me not understanding some of the defining nuances of attacking play have more to do with just the other issues at Manchester United rather than me. So can he do it? I hope so. Because if he can't, then it becomes a very, very interesting juncture in his career. Yeah.
I can also say, though, Paul, that, I mean, we talk about where he might be playing or how frequently he might be playing because you've got the likes of Rafinha, Olmo, Ferran Torres, Lewandowski, an incredible attacking lineup. But I just think about Hansi Flick and actually what he offers a player like Marcus Rashford. If you want to, maintain your worth over this season, a team that knows itself and a coach that knows what he wants to achieve and a bit of, I've rarely use this word for Barcelona, consistency. I mean, that's not a bad place to slot in, surely, for a season at least.
No, absolutely. And I think that from the tactical perspective, for a start, right now, when you ask Barca, they see Rashford coming in as a left winger. That just to lay it out, because number 9 is going to be Lewandowski, and the backup is Ferran Torres in that. They see Ferran Torres as a number 9 right now, and the starting point of Rashford is going to be left wing. Of course, it can change, and now Flick is gonna assess him in training and everything. But the idea that they have right now is this. Then, if you analyze how Barca play, in attack, they're basically relying on Lamine Yamal, of course. And he structures all the attack and he's the focal point in the right-hand side. Then Lamine Yamal likes to cut in and just to be bit more inside. And as he cuts in, he just looks up and see what's available. And this is a space that if Rashford is sharp enough, he can take a lot of advantage of. I mean, he's not going to be that required, or he shouldn't be that required to make things happen on the ball, or like being like a standstill and just burst into. But he's going to be asked to read the spacing. And you have a lot of players such as Lamine Yamal, but Pedri as well, players that can keep the ball and just have players just close to them that they are not going to lose the ball. And once they have players close to them, there's like a lot of free space for other players. And that's what Rashford will need to be reading, and just to be willing to run in behind and stuff like this. And then the biggest challenge, in my opinion, is going to be the work off the ball. Flick, for the way that he plays, he needs relentless pressers up front and people that is willing to follow orders and to just to follow the patterns that they have for pressing, because that's vital with the high line that they have in the defensive end. Lewandowski, as much as they are happy with him, he's 37. He's going to be 37 now. There's the vision inside the club that he might not be able to play the same amount of games that he played last season, and that's going to be fine with it. They're going to be fine with it. They're going to assume that it's a price to pay. So that's another reason for Rashford, because last season, if we go back to last season, when Barca played in crunch time of last season, they played against Real Madrid, Inter, and Real Madrid. I think that was the other. I don't remember now. Yeah. But in that stretch of games, Lewandowski was injured. And Flick basically only had Rafinha, Ferran Torres, and Lamine Yamal. That was the front line. And they were knackered.
This guy's saying only, and he's talking about Rafinha and Ferran Torres.
I mean, that's...
Lamine Yamal.
That's unbelievable.
It's a hard life, Paul. It's a hard life.
But I mean, you're playing once every
Ayo was watching his team playing Mikel Merino as a false nine. Please, some humility. Please. Not disrespect.
Look at your
to
crowd,
Merino.
Paul. And they had Højlund up front. I mean, what are you saying, Paul? Come on.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Look,
sorry, I'm in a group of victims. Sorry about that. Yeah, didn't pretend that.
One thing I'm interested in, because you've mentioned Rashford as the left winger. Where does this leave Rafinha? Because Rafinha had a phenomenal season last season. So with this sort of... Is Rafinha as the number 10 now, or?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, because when we imagined Barcelona last season, Rafinha was the left winger. But if you really analyze where he actually played in the pitch, he was more of a number 10. He just dipped inside, and Flick likes him a lot, being this sort of central roaming force that can run in behind and everything. And the width was provided by Alejandro Balde in the left-hand side. So maybe Rashford can be the one who pins, like on the left wing, and just Rafinha comes in. There's been a lot of talk of Dani Olmo being used as a false nine as well. So basically, it gives Flick a new layer of options in there, and you just can play around. If Rafinha is used practically as a number 10, which was the case last season, there's still a gap for Rashford in there. So that's why I was saying that left wing is possibly now the spot that is more envisioned in Barcelona for Rashford.
Okay, Carl, Paul talks about tactical discipline, and he talks about the orders that Hansi Flick likes to, give his men to obey. Marcus Rashford is very capable of that, but only recently Ruben Amorim was saying how much he criticizes defensive work. Is this something Barcelona fans have to worry about, or does this actually seem, because it's really technically a year as we're looking at, he's probably in a space to impress as opposed to try and have the trials and tribulations he was probably facing at Manchester United?
This one could go down to a coin toss. I think Marcus Rashford, at best, can be classed as an inconsistent defender or inconsistent presser. I think he would freely admit it's not the strongest part of his game. And I think that has caused friction with him and the fan base, and with more than one Manchester United coach. He was, Ralf Rangnick was only an interim manager, but Ralf Rangnick, he likes pressing. And I think that might have caused some friction there. And I think the way Erik ten Hag reorganized the team during Rashford's career year, that reduced some of the defensive burden on Marcus Rashford, and he responded with 30 goals in all competitions. But also, it is a huge contributing factor to him, and perhaps may have played a role in why some clubs are, I want to use the word hesitant, to perhaps commit to a large sale about him. In that, look, Marcus Rashford is not the only talented left-sided inside forward who doesn't really defend all the time. We can look at Real Madrid, we can talk about Kylian Mbappe, we can talk about Vinicius Jr., we can look at AC Milan and talk about Rafael Leao. In that these are all incredibly talented football players on the ball, but then off the ball, their application and the consistency of their application has caused frustration and conversation with managers and their fan bases. I think Rashford, in having a year-long sprint and having these objectives, he has to get more consistent. I think one thing that is in his favour is that Rashford, when he is fit, has had a reputation, at least in the last couple of weeks previously, of being a dedicated trainer. When he's fit, he's athletically. There's been 2 or 3 times that Rashford is running in a straight line and you're going, that boy is running 100 metres in 12 seconds or sub 12 seconds. That is something Hansi Flick likes. And I think one difference between Hansi Flick's Barcelona and Xavi's Barcelona, and Pol, please correct me there, is that if I'm wrong here, is the level of fitness. This Barcelona team under Flick is a lot fitter, a lot more athletically robust there. I think the fact that Rashford is an attacking player who likes to run in behind defences rather than say come to feet more. He did come into feet a little bit more towards the end of his time at Manchester United, which I think can frustrate, because again, you're going, Marcus, you are one of the fastest football players in the world. Why are you dropping deep to receive? Run that way. If you can run that way, and you've got players like Pedri giving through balls, and you've got Lamine Yamal getting his head up and doing things, and you've got Dani Olmo looking up and doing things, Rashford could have huge opportunities to score at the back post in particular there. But then this is the thing. Can Rashford be the running in behind threat instead of the drop deep and coming into feet threat? Can he be the defender that Hansi Flick will want him to be? I think Balde is going to be... I would not be surprised if by Christmas, Balde is all over Marcus Rashford's Instagram account and they're hugging and having loads of time hanging out because as we said previously, Rashford tends to play better when he's got a left back who can do loads of overlapping runs and hold width. And Balde can do that. So those two and their relationship on left wing, if that goes well, will be really beneficial to him. The idea of Rashford playing slightly wider as Rafinha's cutting inside, question mark about that one, because Rashford wants to cut inside and shoot as well. So there are questions over whether or not that can be a traffic jam. So this is one where it tactically makes sense, but there are also a lot of, you can maybe call it asterisks, maybe you can call it a footnote, but there are loads of things in there that mean, I can't quite call it a slam dunk.
Yeah.
You can call it a layup. But there are 2 or 3 things that need to get sorted out, both from Hansi Flick and both from Marcus Rashford there as well.
Yeah, in a natural way, I think that Rashford is going to understand that he's possibly not getting into this toxic dynamics that he had at Man United in terms of, you don't run too much. I mean, he's going to run because he's going to have to. And that's what Barcelona basically are hoping, that they are getting a player that is so willing not just to join the club, but to put himself in disposal of the tactics and the system and the setup that Hansi Flick has. I think
he has to run because, I mean, Barcelona, as we've just joked before, Barcelona are very well stocked. So if he doesn't run, or if he doesn't necessarily listen to Hansi Flick's instructions, okay, well, they'll play Rafinha at left wing instead. If he doesn't want to do that, then Dani Olmo can go in there, and the Barcelona machine just keeps on trucking. I'll be fascinated to see how this goes on here, because it should make sense. And yet I'm pulling a face when I'm saying this.
I'm just jealous, man. I mean, it's a bag of riches. I'm not going to lie. It's
how
really
greedy.
How greedy. So true, though. How greedy of Barcelona to pull out another amazing attacking talent. I mean, it's a year long, but wow. I can't wait to see how it all works. Right, let's move on. All right. Little fact check, but Rashford will become the first English player since Gary Lineker to play for Barcelona. Gary left in 1989. Paul, that's 36 years ago. I think he's just one of 3 Englishmen to play for Barcelona. I think Mark Hughes played for Barcelona, but obviously he is Welsh. Now, big question. Why have so few English players played for Barcelona? Is it an English player tax thing or just not a style thing?
Yeah, no, I think that there's like the starting point is that right now English players are expensive, and that they earn so much money, and the Premier League is a league that pays well. It's a league that suits their sort of upbringing, of course. It's not easy to take a young player, let's say, from an academy, join a La Liga club. It's impossible, basically. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think that if you're an English player with the current setup of the industry, the path that you have to go to Spain are either or just don't find your place in the Premier League, be out of contract and try to revamp your career going to a Villarreal, Betis, sort of that, or be a Trent Alexander-Arnold, Jude Bellingham, this sort of level of players that, go just to an extra level and that Real Madrid and Barcelona can do the effort to sign you. In that regard, possibly Rashford falls more into the first category, but he's not going to a Villarreal, of course, he's going to a Barca because he has that a skill set, basically. But I think that's the main reason, because for how the industry is built, it's so difficult for this to happen now.
And I've been to Barcelona. I'm sure Carl's tasted Barcelona.
I've been to Primavera Music Festival.
You know it. We've been there.
Yeah,
Paul, you're a Barcelona resident. Talk to me.
Yeah.
If you were advising Marcus Rashford right now on that transition from Manchester to Barcelona, what are you saying to him, man? What is he to expect?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've lived in Manchester 7 years, and I'm for Barcelona, and I'm telling you something. I mean, when Rashford gets his head out of the window in his home, I don't think that he's going to miss a lot looking at the sky. And I love Manchester. Don't get me wrong. I went to Manchester last weekend. I went at one of the Oasis gigs, and I love Manchester, but it's just not the same. He's not gonna. I don't think that he's gonna struggle with life at the city. I mean, possibly like more like the other fact. You can get too comfortable in this city. You can get too used to that city, and that's one thing that you have to take into account. But yeah, I still like in myself. I think that there's so much at stake for him with this move that he better like make it work. Basically,
Did you buy that, Carl? I see it as a breath of fresh air away from the English media, a new environment, a new culture, for instance. I mean, there's a lot to be relished here, but Pol is right. He needs to make this work.
He does need to make this work, and Pol is absolutely right about how Barcelona is lovely, but also that they've got beaches. You can very easily go on a night out of Barcelona and not get home until 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sure you've done that.
This is very true.
No,
this is very
I've
true.
never done that.
He doesn't drink. I know what you're talking about.
No.
So there is that. This is not quite at the level of Michael Owen when he was at Real Madrid, and he talked about how he would constantly go outside to the hotel to pick up copies of the newspaper because there was only one of English. The culture shock is not as large as it used to be. I am aware now of the very, very large aspects of pastoral care that these European super clubs are now offering their top players to make sure possible language barriers are not the same level that they used to be. I remember years ago where Callum Hudson-Odoi, when he was pitched by Bayern Munich, and Bayern sort of explained how they'd help him learn German and they'd pair him up with certain individuals so he wouldn't be alone and have no one to talk to as well. So, okay, but it's only a loan, but I'm sure Rashford will make friends or have the opportunity to make friends very, very quickly at Barcelona. But as Pol said, and as we're all sort of playfully skirting around, ideally for this to work, Rashford needs to not enjoy too many things in Barcelona because he's spending loads of time in the gym and he's spending loads of time watching X's and O's footage on the training ground, and he's spending doing this and doing that and having long conversations with Balde about when I do this, you do this, and when I do this, you do this. So this is the coin flip when you go to a football team as good as Barcelona, in a city as good as Barcelona as well. Okay, you're not going to be subject to the English media. You are going to be discussed by the Barcelona media. And you are also going to be discussed by the Madrid media. So, I mean, 18 months ago, if I told you Clasico is going to have Trent Alexander-Arnold up against Marcus Rashford.
That's a good point. Yeah, what a
the eyebrows
storyline.
would have flown off your face. And I'm sure Rashford, if he does play in a Clasico, he will get an outsized amount of attention in a way that Dani Olmo will not get, because Marcus Rashford, regardless of English media or not, is still one of the most recognizable football players in the world. So he has to do well because he has to put himself in the shop window, not just for Barcelona, but for everyone in world football who can afford him. So all power to you. I'm not going to send you a recommendation of my favorite carver place in Barcelona.
let alone the food. We haven't even spoken about the food. All right. Real talk though, Paul. You spoke about skill set earlier. And I personally think he's off the stature and a skill set that could work in La Liga, because potentially he's offered a little bit more space than maybe he would be in the Premier League. That's a matter of opinion. But do you think he has the skill set to thrive in La Liga?
I don't think so. I think that the skill set is to be a world star, if I'm honest. I mean, I remember the day that Marcus Rashford did his debut against Midtjylland, and I was at Old Trafford. And that year, I was blown away by Marcus Rashford. That whole year, and I think that I've spoken to Premier League managers that have faced him over the years, and they have nothing bad to say about the raw talent that he has. I mean, it's all there, and I think that this sort of players can adapt to anything, and he will adapt to La Liga. I sort of disagree with the fact that he will have more space, because Barcelona, basically, all the teams that they face, they are
low block,
low block, and he's going to have to live with that, and that's why
is why Balde is probably so important, and the left back is so important, because
and that's why I was saying that the best thing that, in my opinion, right now, and I'm just making a movie in my mind, but I think that the best thing for him is just to understand that he can be really good off the ball, and just leave the on the ball duties to players like Pedri, Dani Olmo, Lamine Yamal, who they are really good in short spaces. They can attract a lot of attention, and then boom, just launch it to Rashford. This is how Rafinha made of an outstanding season last season, possibly the best of his career, in what we're going to see in the coming years, possibly as well. And I think that Rashford has to learn from it and take that role into it. I think that, by the way, Carl did a really nice point about his fit in the dressing room and the cultural barrier. And I think it's fair to point out that I think that he's going to have no problem, because Flick speaks in English. He gives a lot of the directions in training in English. Up front, Rafinha speaks perfect English. Lewandowski speaks perfect English. Lamine Yamal speaks English. He doesn't dare to speak in public, but he can speak in English.
Oh.
Yeah.
Someone's hiding their real personality from him.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a bit shy, and he doesn't dare to have a proper conversation, but he understands English perfectly. Frankie de Jong, Danny almost speaks English, so he's going to have no problem in that regard.
Gents, let's leave it there. Carl, Paul, thank you so much for your time, and also David for joining us early, and also thank you guys for watching as well. Don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to leave us a comment as well. Right, that's it. We're back soon. If you want to watch more episodes of the show, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be joined by the likes of David Ornstein, Matt Slater, Adam Crafton, Carl Anka, and plenty more through the season. If you'd like to listen to the episodes in full in audio form, search The Athletic FC wherever you get your podcasts from.